All right, and we are live. So welcome to AI Marketing for Remodelers and Builders. If you don't know us, I'm Kai. I'm our lead consultant, everything marketing strategy, AI. And then with me is Spencer, our founder, CEO. Spencer, we are going to have a I can't think of one. Something writing. I need some tactical. There we go. Very tactical episode today, all about AI versus human. So who should be writing, your website content, your modeling or custom home building content. So if you listen to this episode, you'll know exactly how to use AI to write better content than you could ever alone. I just answered the question right there, Spencer. So there we go. You already know where we're leaning towards, but you're going to learn how to use AI to write better content than you ever could alone without losing your voice, your expertise, your personal experiences, all the trust that you built with your clients, as well as like a very simple like framework and system that you could just start following today. So Spencer, I'm really excited about this one because I feel like this is like the big debate with AI is writing. You go on any social media. I'm starting to see LinkedIn posts. People are like, no AI was used in this. No AI was used in this. And even then when we like start auditing clients' sites, we're seeing them like use marketing agencies that have just obviously put into ChatGPT and it just spits out like whatever. So I'm super excited to talk about this one today.
Yeah, I am too, because I think, well, one, it's evolving, but two, our radars as humans are going up looking for this and questions. We're starting to run it through that filter, I think with written for sure, but also video. Just, is this AI generated or is this real? And real even is a funny term to use there, because it's like, well, it's real, but is it human written or is it AI generated? So yeah, it's definitely a hot topic.
Listen, right now, Spencer, guys like me that aren't the best writers and don't use the best punctuation are eating. I mean, people know it's my writing because it doesn't look perfect. So yeah, first let's just get into the quick choice for them, for the listeners out there and the watchers. So should you be using AI to write or should you not, right? And I think that people think that you just got to pick one or the other, right? So it's like, I can't use AI. It won't sound like me, or I'll just let AI write everything. It's faster and it's better. But really the real choice, Spencer's in the middle, right? So you want to use AI assisted writings, like a human plus like AI partnership, and really leverage AI to get those raw thoughts out of your head, help get you that first draft, which we talked about multiple times, and then keep iterating from there.
Yeah, and I know we'll get to some like how-tos and stuff, but I hope people are picking up on like the partnership theme that you've mentioned. We've talked about a lot on the podcast, which is like using AI as a thought partner, a production partner, because it really is that way. It won't just do anything until you've either prompted or commanded or done some sort of initial thing to get it going. Then it gets going, and then you can interact back and forth and get to a final output. And so it is very much a partnership, and I think that'll be important to keep at the forefront of your mind as we kind of go through some tactical things during this conversation.
Yeah, I kind of think of like AI writing almost as like, how many people have like ghostwriters or like authors that just come in and you just talk with them. It's basically like an interview and they write their memoir for them. Like that happens a lot of the time. So like, that's like what you're going for there is have your own like little ghostwriter or your like memoir writer there. That's what we're going for. But to talk about like why those two choices like aren't right, right? So why 100% human isn't the right choice, as well as why 100% AI isn't the right choice. When we talk about human, unless you're a professional writer, I mean, content creation is going to be really, really slow. I mean, that is just be able to write like one high quality blog, 1,000+ words. If you're busy, you're doing things every day, just being able to sit down and write, that's, one blog post maybe after a week. And that's like your first draft. And there's so many ideas that are like stuck in people's heads and they just can't get it out. They don't have anything to draw it out of them. And that's like why like professional writers are like, they're still very valuable, right? People that can just do that on command. And so what ends up happening, Spencer? You probably don't end up posting it. Probably don't end up creating it. You probably, end up halfway through. You're just like, I'm just going to get this done. And you're just going to rush through it. So either way, it's, 100% human. If you're not a professional writer, you're definitely losing some quality there for sure.
Yeah. And I think, you saying professional writer is interesting, because I do think that just like any other skill is a muscle that has to be worked and developed and flexed. And if that is not a skill that you've had to use or hone or need in your career, remodeling homes, building homes, then that can be a real challenge, just sitting down in front of a blank page and writing. I know for me, I actually enjoy writing, and as a marketer, you end up like so much is writing. You're writing headlines, you're writing emails, you're writing blogs, you're writing, stories and messaging and all of that. And so I don't mind, just sitting down and writing, but I do know that the default, I think, for a lot of people is just like, oh, that sounds like the worst to just sit down and start writing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when I mean like professional writer, that's obviously subjective, but basically exactly what you said. Like if you feel like you like can't sit down and like it comes naturally to you, then like I don't think there's any problem in like helping AI get some of that out. Like that's me personally. Like I'm not like I like writing like to a certain extent. I'm more sort of like the results of my writing. If I don't really like I can't really just sit down and just write for an hour, right? I mean, I know you wrote your book before, and like that's like what authors do. They just sit down, they just write for hours. That's never been me. So yeah, it just kind of depends. Like if you feel like it comes naturally to you, and then that's obviously like where you flex your AI usage, right? So maybe instead of 30% of AI, you're using 10%, right? Or you're going to write the full first draft yourself and then just ask for feedback. There's definitely different ways to go about it. But going into the other side of the spectrum, right? So as somebody that doesn't like writing, I still don't let AI write 100% of what I do. And the big thing is it's generic, it's forgettable. The content's just meh, right? Because if I don't feed it anything, if I don't give it my personal experiences, then anybody can go into their ChatGPT or their Claude or whatever and wrote exactly what I wrote, right? It just doesn't know you, right? So if I don't give it any context, I'm just using 100% AI to write every single thing for me all the time. Eventually, that's going to be diluted, right? It's just going to be pulling whatever from the internet, pulling from other people's experiences, and that's how you're going to get that super generic content that I feel like is a lot of what's out there right now.
Yeah, and I think the style is the big piece, and that everyone writes differently, and everyone's unique in their personality and their tone. And I think sometimes, if you don't write, like you said, professionally, or even if you just don't write a lot, it you don't necessarily know how to translate your own personality in just the way you interact in your business and your daily life into words and convert that kind of like actual personality into written style. And that's where I think some of the things we'll talk about. I know you're a big fan of using the voice and everything, where I think you can really partner with the AI tools to help convert that and get that on paper, so to speak, but really pull that uniqueness out into the writing.
1,000%, yeah. And listen, like we were talking about it off camera. I'm not the best punctuation guy. I don't use semicolons. If there's a semicolon in my content somewhere, probably AI helped me write it. So I definitely go back and I change it up. And even if it's not like the perfect punctuation or something, I make it my style. I make it me. I'm a big commas and periods guy. I'm very simple. That's all I really need, right? Maybe throw in a colon there if I'm listing something out in threes. But let's pull up ChatGPT here, Spencer, and really let's go through an example. So let's say that we want to write a blog post on exactly what we're talking about right now, right? So AI versus human content. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to tell AI my raw idea. So for people out there watching, you might be able to see it, but watching or listening, I use a tool called Whisperflow. Again, not affiliated. It's just a dictation tool. So I just hold these keys, these hotkeys on my keyboard, and I just talk, and it cuts out all the ums and the uhs and all of that. You can just do it through ChatGPT as well. It just keeps all the ums and the uhs, but really talking to it is the big thing. So and then I'm just going to start right now, Spencer, just so everybody's clear. So we're going to say, I'm looking to write a blog piece on AI versus human for writing content and why the right choice is an AI and human partnership. Ask me questions and help pull out personal experiences to help me create this piece of content. And so like that's just like where we start right here. So, and I'm just going to use the base model as well for people that are just listening. So we're going to do the base model. And so really the first thing too
Kai, I'm surprised. AI loves this topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Love this
It's like,
topic,
yes.
especially given.
Yes. So yeah, for people listening out there, it's like love this topic, all of this. So what it did is just ask me a ton of different questions, right? So I'm not going to read all of them, but it gave me different buckets, right? Your origin story with AI and writing, where AI fails without humans, where humans fail, right? Or what my philosophy is, and then it even asked for like a builder funnel specific angle because it has those different memories in there. Strong opinion section gave me like 7 different buckets, basically. Well, technically 6 different buckets of questions, and that's just all from just talking to it to start. So the real goal with this first step is just to have AI help synthesize my overall thoughts, right? Um, so from here, right, we'll just say, I'll read through, I'm going to scan through a couple of these and I'll just basically say, because I have an idea where I want this to go. So I'll just tell it that. So I'll say, love all these questions. I think overall, I really just want to push the 80-20 mindset. 80% AI, 20% human, and then add in my unique experiences. I've personally found that when I just use AI only writing, it's not as good. But when I feed in my personal experiences, it doesn't matter if I use AI or not to help. Having those personal experiences is really a big factor into making my content unique. My personal style as well is just very concise too. So very simple, right, Spencer? So just kind of talked about like my overall mindset here, like what my framework is, what my philosophy is. I talked about my style a little bit. And so now what I'm going to say is uh, I'm going to feed you some previous pieces of content that I've wrote so you can get a good idea of my style. So that's step 2 right here, Spencer. So now we've gone from talking to the AI to now we're going to feed it different like transcripts or materials. And so let's say like you're a remodeler or custom home builder. If you're writing a topic around cost, for example, this would be a really good opportunity for you to upload different transcripts from your sales calls where you talk about that, where you're pulling real quotes and questions that your prospects had around cost. So you can pull from those, unique experiences.
Yeah, I like that. And there was a section too, I think, near the bottom of these prompts. I know you didn't answer all these questions because that would have taken a
Hmm.
lot longer.
Yeah.
But it was the strong opinion section. I feel like when
Yes.
I saw that, it kind of jumped out to me because I feel like opinions are probably going to be a big part of what helps people separate some of the AI and human writing is taking a strong stance or just any type of stance on something. I'm sure you could prompt AI to take a stance on XYZ, but I do think that is an opportunity probably tied in with what you were just talking about, which is personal experiences to really, yeah, help bring out that style, that personal style that you're probably.
Yeah, I'm really glad you actually brought that up because that's actually a really big issue with AI is it's very like middle ground. You'll notice a lot of the times it doesn't really lean one way or the other too much when you're asking for like when you're writing some of these topics. So one of the ways to really stick out on social media as well as just content in general is having a strong opinion on something. There's actually just take AI out of it. A lot of social media right now, people are just kind of trying to stick in the middle, and very few people are taking a stance on anything. So anytime you can take a stance or anything or have a hot take or whatever, that definitely helps you stick out. So I think we'll add that in there as well. So I want to talk about your strong opinion section. Those are great questions. I will say that AI will definitely replace average writers, but it will make better writers even better. Um, I think either way, doing anything purely human or purely AI, we are past that point. I feel like this is another tool that we should just use. So there, I just threw in my answer there. And so now what I'm doing here for the listeners is I'm just going to take a couple of examples here. So I'll just say example LinkedIn posts. So I post a decent amount on LinkedIn. So I'm just going to put in 2 posts here from LinkedIn. So it gets a good idea of like my style. And in reality here, right, I'm showing you guys how to take this from 0 to 100. Hopefully you would have memory here, or you would upload this in a project where you wouldn't have to manually upload these every time, right, Spencer? But just so I can show you guys, it's really as easy as if you want to start from nothing today, just grab a couple of pieces that you've written before. They can be emails, social posts, blogs, website content, You could even take, you be careful with this because obviously you don't want to do plagiarism, but you could even take other pieces of content that you like. For example, if there's somebody like on an email list that you really like and you really like their style, you could say to emulate their style. So if you don't really have a lot of pieces, but the goal here is really just to give AI a couple reference points so it understands like what you're going for from a style perspective. Awesome. So right here, it basically said, this is great. Your voice is already clear. Let's refine even further. And so what it's asking basically is like, I want to pressure test 80/20 idea. Like, do you mean 80% of the drafting is AI? Is 80% of the mechanical work AI? Is it 20% human? It gives like what it believes like my belief is, which is AI handles the heavy lifting, humans handle the judgment, which is pretty close. So I'll let it know that that's correct.
It's funny that it teed that up as a idea because AI right
Mm-hmm.
now is terrible on making
Yeah.
judgment calls right now. Yeah.
Yeah, you should really, how I've explained AI to a lot of people is it's almost like a I don't want to say like advisor as in like I follow it, but it really just keeps giving me new ideas. And I'll be like, nope, 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 yes. Let's dive into that one deeper. Almost a level I'd say above an intern, but basically like think of it like a peer or maybe somebody that's directly under you, where you're still leading them a bit more. You're gonna have the last call on a lot of ideas that they give. I would never have AI make the last call on anything. But they can just keep giving you more ideas. They keep asking you questions, and like that's like where the real power is. So for my listeners out there, it's giving tons, right? So it's like, what's the core thesis, right? Like where can we like inject this personal experience, right? Was it a client story, a builder funnel specific example? Do you have a specific metric? So all of these questions now, if I were to sit down and just go through and answer all of these, instead of taking all that time to like write a draft from nothing, right? It's much easier for me, at least, Spencer, to just sit and answer all these questions. By the time you answer all those questions, you've got a pretty beefy blog post that's ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the interesting things about using this, the way you started the prompt, you said, hey, this is what I want to do. Ask me questions about it. And it gave us whatever, 5, 6, 7 sections. Each one had 3 to 5 or more questions. When you just sit down to write it, you may not think of that topic from all those angles. And you may not think, oh, I wouldn't have thought to include that or this other question over here, or I wouldn't have even addressed that or thought. And so I think that is something that really makes your finished product more complete, more holistic. It covers more of the topic, but then you can use your audio if you don't like typing, or your past, like you said, past examples to kind of pull your element into it, and then you can just verbally answer all of these things. And that's where I think it is really kind of using it. Said it, I like some of these 80/20 questions, but if you go 10% to start it, it does the like questioning, you go a little bit more, and then it spits out everything, and then you go that final 10% or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of, I like that, but the question that stood out to me on the 80/20, it said, or 80%, do you want AI to handle 80% of the execution, but 100% of the thinking is human?
That's actually
Um,
an interesting angle. I like
yeah.
that. It's an
Because the
interesting
other one,
angle.
just for people that are listening, it said, did you mean 80% of the drafting is AI, 80% of the mechanical work is AI, 80% of the
Hmm.
volume, or 80% of the execution, but 100% of the thinking is human? And that's, I kind of like that. It's almost just like, hey, I'll communicate everything to you. You just spit it out on paper. That's the part I don't want to do.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too. There's another point that you said of like you wouldn't maybe think of a content piece that way. A lot of times when I'm posting my LinkedIn content, I like to like throw in my post like idea, and I'll just kind of ramble to AI a bit. And it's definitely gotten to a point where I'll be like, actually, like you wanted to post this, but like this isn't enough. Like you need to think about it this way, or what about this angle? There was one post where probably the first time it's ever done it, completely reworked it for me, different angle that I was going for, but I was like, yeah, like this makes a lot of sense, right? And this gets even better, Spencer, when we go back to talking about like data analysis, right? When you start uploading all of like your post metrics, so your website metrics, and then it's gonna just start hitting you with data. And it's like, listen, like when you do these hooks and these, like you have these pieces to your content, it performs better. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but if you don't do it and you want your content to perform better, you have to follow like what the data is telling you. And I definitely think that, especially we can just kind of get lost in our own heads and kind of overthink things. And there's just a lot of things that we want to do. It's almost like a great grounding reminder when you feed it data, and it keeps asking you these questions. That's helped my LinkedIn content get a lot better, and I'm definitely seeing much higher spike in engagement, impressions overall from posts that were like my raw idea for sure. But I wouldn't have dug that deep, right? Or I wouldn't have said it that exact way, or I wouldn't have gone that direction with it. So it's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because too, when you think about social posts, especially, like writing a book, hopefully that's a little more evergreen in nature. Writing some blog content, hopefully some of that is a little more long lasting. Social posts are so fleeting, but yet you kind of need to maximize this high volume and high quality, because if you don't get the interactions, the comments, the engagement, it just it's gone. It's just like, oh, I posted and it's gone. And so in the example you used, you were able to like take your initial idea, but then kind of mold it and do that in a pretty fast process, and then get the post out knowing I can't spend like 30 minutes on this and do that for every single post. Yeah, I think it's just an interesting when it comes to social, where it's so fleeting, yet the stack of hundreds of social posts, like it's
Percent. So to keep this moving, I might not be able to hear you, Spencer, when I do this because I think it mutes all of my sound. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer all these questions just really quickly verbally, and then I'll tell it to do our first draft here. So all right, so these are all great questions. I love the 80% of the execution, but 100% of the thinking is human. I love that. Let's really have that as the core message for this. Um, as far as like the core thesis, I love all of them. Let's really work in 1, 2, and 3. As far as like a specific story from me, I can definitely see the difference in my fully AI generated LinkedIn post from 2 years ago to now, where I'm working back and forth with AI a lot more, similar to how we're doing right now, right? You're asking me questions, and I'm, answering them, and we're going back and forth. So I think that's a great personal experience that we can do. As far as the builder funnel angle, from what I've seen, I think this industry really struggles with remodelers and custom home builders are always out in the field. They're always on the go, and it's really hard for them just to sit down and want to write. And so for some of them that comes naturally, and that's great. But for the majority of people where it doesn't, uh, this is just a great way. This is a great tool for them to get a lot of those great ideas out of their head and onto paper, so then they could focus on other things, but then they can still keep releasing content. I love the overall like opinion section. I have no changes to that. And then I love the short paragraphs and strong pacing, or strong spacing. This all looks really good. Let's keep the blog post first draft to about 1,000 words. Um, and I think like as far as like this last one of like that most important question that you have, I would love to really talk about like why remodelers are hesitating on AI. Um, and let's just go. Actually, let's just cut that for now. I think that's too much. I think overall we had what we wanted. Okay, and so you see there, um, it's now we have a ton of like that's not even a prop, Spencer. That's just really like rambling. But this is a lot of good stuff here. And so here, especially if you're using ChatGPT specifically, I would just toggle on Canvas when you are writing, because this basically opens up almost like a Google Doc where you can edit it. And so let's see its first draft. And so it did like the LinkedIn style, which is interesting. I did tell it to do the LinkedIn style. I guess I didn't think it would be like that much spacing. So that's something we could easily fix. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like definitely
Yeah,
too
you
much
could
spacing.
say, "Hey, this is too much one-liners. Let's go more short paragraphs." Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, oops. Well, I stopped generating a little bit too early, but um, you're doing a great job. But actually, it was too many one-liners. Let's do short paragraphs. Think paragraphs that are probably like 3 to 4 sentences. Make them longer if it makes more sense. So all I did there for the listeners was I just stopped it from generating. I think this is more so what I was looking for. So there's still a debate happening online about AI versus human writing, as if we have to pick a side. That framing already feels outdated. We are past the point of choosing between one or the other. The real advantage now comes from understanding how they work together. It's a pretty solid opening paragraph. I like that. This is some good stuff. So then it has the differences, the output. AI will replace average writers. And so you see why it matters for high ticket industries, 80% execution, 100% thinking. So here's where I land. So this is like the opinion part. And it ends with like, we are not choosing between AI and human writing anymore. We are learning how to direct AI with better thinking. The writers who win over the next few years will not be the ones who reject the tool or surrender to it. They'll be the ones who know how to use it with intention. So I think overall, this is a pretty solid first start. And then again, here for my people that are watching, we can go in here and just easily edit within ChatGPT, which is nice. Or you can even put this in a Google Doc if you want. The great part too, before we wrap here, is doing this within ChatGPT. We can highlight certain sections. We can ask ChatGPT to like expand on it or explain what it meant by this, or say I really wanted to say something like this. But overall, Spencer, for what, the 15 minutes from we want to do this idea, I have this raw idea of making a blog post, to going 2 rounds of answering questions, I think it did a pretty solid job. And I think it honestly nailed a lot of my writing style. I see a lot of periods and commas. I don't see a lot of colons, which is what I mainly don't use those. So I think this honestly looks pretty solid. What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that's the thing to put in context is what we started this process probably about 15 minutes ago, right? We opened the podcast, talked for a little bit, and then you started prompting, and so 1,000-word blog post that is pretty well structured, has some opinion, personal stories, examples baked in. Like, would you have been able to, knock this out in 15 minutes starting from square one? I think that's like that contrast is one of the most important points in my mind to hit on, because if you just sat down blank page, like 15 minutes in, you've maybe got a few paragraphs, but you're kind of trying, you might even be working on the structure, the flow, like what are my subheadings going to be? How do I want like to start and end this? Like, now you're basically near the finish line or at it, depending on what you're going to do from here. And hopefully it's just like a quick cut through it, changing some little language. I wouldn't say it that way. I'll change it this way. Or, if we really wanted to spend more time on this, like you would have answered those questions in more depth and done a few more things there. But honestly, I think that contrast hopefully is landing with people is, hey, like you're at 1,000 words, well structured, got some of the personal tone, style, personality, experience baked in 15-ish minutes.
You can keep going back and forth with AI and keep working on this. Before this were to go live, I would definitely work on this for a little bit longer. But it's honestly pretty solid. You can do as much as you want percentage wise, right? Like maybe you just want to ramble and just say your raw thoughts, and then it just cleans those up. It doesn't add any of its own, doesn't ask you questions. You just put that in. If you want to do that, cool. If you want it to ask more questions, cool. If you want it to help you and assist you and do some research and get some data points, it can do that. It's very malleable in how it can help you create content. And then from here, this is only the start, because it starts compounding. Because now once you have a long form piece of content, now it can help you write emails from this. It can help you write social posts. You can put this in its memory, and now we can make more posts off of this, and it just keeps compounding on each other. So the I think the core thing, and this might honestly be my early PWOW here, is it's not just writing like content for me, but it's almost just dumping all of your thoughts in here, putting structure behind it, and being able to do so much more with it than if it just stuck in your head, right? Because now from this, it could say, hey, this is an awesome blog topic. This could be a really good lead magnet that goes with it. Hey, this could be a really good marketing campaign that you could do with it. Here's some messaging that you should incorporate on your site. Here are people that this really resonate with. So there's so much that you can do when just overall just dumping your raw thoughts into AI, having it structure besides just writing content. I think that's the number one use case that we all think of, but just that practice of dumping your thoughts in and having it structured has been huge for me.
Yeah, I think that style probably will resonate with a lot of people listening. It's just they're better at answering a question, talking off the cuff. Like, you are the expert. You've been doing remodeling. You've been building homes for so long. You've gone through that experience so many times. You know the stuff. And it's just a matter of like getting it out of your head and on to paper and communicating that. And I think for many people, it's easier to just verbally address questions than to think, oh, let me write this as a blog post. And that conversion from, cool, let me answer these 7, 8, 9, 10 questions about the topic, just talking, and then have AI convert it to word, written word, is super powerful.
All right, Spencer, it is our favorite point of the pod, our PWOW, our parting words of wisdom. If you know, you know. If there is one thing that anybody should remember from this episode, what should it be?
Think I think two things. I think a word of caution to just only using AI. I um I don't think it will take you as far as you hope it will by just trying to do a one shot prompt and just getting the answer on the first try, so to speak. One, from just a style perspective and tone and brand, but also from a performance standpoint. And we didn't spend a lot of time today digging into performance, but being able just thinking, oh, cool, I can spit out 100 blogs onto my site and I'll just be ranking in Google and in AI overviews and in ChatGPT and all these, like, it's already been shown that that does not work. And so I guess the word of caution is use this to spend less time making something better, but don't use it as the ultimate shortcut to just like crank out a bunch of garbage. And humans, our radar detectors are going up and up and up on looking for this and trying to decode, is this AI, is this human? And so the more, slight flaws, the more personal examples, the more, of that style that's recognizable as just you or your brand, the better.
Yeah, I love that. A good rule of thumb is if you feel like that anybody could Google your topic and their ChatGPT could spit out something similar, you need to go back and add in some more specifics, some more personal experiences. And I actually have a LinkedIn post going out later this week that's going to talk about, like, as a marketer, like, you should love AI content going out, because if you're actually like spending time putting in your own experiences, you're going to stick out way more now. I mean, there's so much, like you said, there's so much slop out there going out. There's so many people that are just putting it in ChatGPT and just like letting it go, letting it post whatever. When, you know, if you really just put in your own personal experiences and things that people can't Google and pull from something, that will help you stick out. So it kind of goes in my PY overall. Is it doesn't matter if you use AI to write content. It's so interesting to me. There's probably like certain factors, but overall, Google does not punish AI content. It punishes low quality content. Right? That's directly from them. So you can use AI to write your content if it's something that's niche, it's unique, and it actually provides value and it's high quality. Just I feel like we've got to break this notion of like all AI writing is AI slop, right? There's been human slop out there too. There's other people that have been plagiarizing and copying and pasting all the time. So um, inject those personal experiences. Really use your voice. Use your raw thoughts. Have it ask you questions. Think about things that you just cannot. What can somebody not Google about custom home costs in your area, right? People can Google custom home costs, sure, but you could talk about previous homes you built. Talk about previous homes you've remodeled. You can talk about specific areas in your service area. There's so much there where you can be unique, that it shouldn't be hard to stand out if you just take those couple extra steps.
Yeah, I like, and it's funny, I've been in the content world, that game, since 2010, and the one thing that has always rung true is just high value content, high value to the user, right? Because like you said, Google isn't penalizing AI or human content, like it's penalizing bad content, or content that's not helpful. And so if somebody comes to the blog post and they read it and it's super helpful, they're going to be on the page for a long time. They're going to click further into the site. Like, all of these technical SEO factors start to ring true, and you're like, oh, engagement and time on site and, linking back to other pages. And it's like, well, that only happens if somebody's receiving value from the content. And to your point on kind of like highlighting specific builds or remodels, like those are one of one to you. Like, only you did the remodel of that kitchen on 123 Main Street in XYZ city. And so only you have that information and only you can share it. And so that helps you stand out more.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, that has been today's episode. I hope you all who watched and listened enjoyed it. As always, feel free to email me your questions, feedback, episode ideas. I'm always taking any and all feedback and emails I can get. It's KB as in boy, IAMI at builderfunnel.com. Again, that is KBIAMI at builderfunnel.com. I want you to send me what is one unique thing that you can talk about in your next content piece. And we will see y'all on the next episode.